Hello everybody, welcome to the United Stand. I'm Mark Goldbridge. United have been trounced by Brighton in what was a mismatch in many areas. Ten Hag was schooled by De Zerbi. You've got to own up to that. And this season is heading the same way as my turd this morning. Down the toilet. That is a disgraceful performance from Manchester United. It's the worst of the season for us. I know, losing to Spurs, losing to Arsenal, there were some positives to take away, but we were absolutely schooled. And at this point, we've lost 3 games from 5. We are in 12th place. We've got a -4 goal difference. You've got to question the tactics. You've got to question the substitutions. You've got to question the players again. I said it in the summer. I said in the summer that this team will get battered like it did last year at Newcastle, at Anfield, at the Emirates. It will get battered again this season because I don't see a mentality shift. I have never seen a collection of Man United players that when they go 1-0 down, they can turn it into 3 or 4. You know, I'd love it if they could do that with a trophy. You know, win a trophy and next season win 3 or 4. But when they concede, their heads drop. The mentality of some of those players is shocking. I'm going to say straight at the start, because I want this to be at the start of the video and it's not fair to hide and put it later in the video. This week, I've given Gareth Southgate both barrels in relation to his relentless backing of Harry Maguire, who doesn't play football. It's favouritism from Southgate, and I've said it's bang out of order. I don't rate Southgate. I don't think he's a very good coach. That's bottom line. But I will not do agendas. Erik ten Hag's backing of Marcus Rashford is puzzling and sends a ridiculously bad message to Manchester United fans. I believe at the game today when he talked Rasmus off, there was some booing and there was some discontent in the fan base. And I've got to say, as a fan of Marcus Rashford and a huge fan of Erik ten Hag, I do 100% agree with the criticism. Marcus Rashford's body attitude today was bang out of order. There was times where he didn't track back. There was times when he shot when he shouldn't have shot. You know, very, very selfish. Completely the wrong attitude for a senior player of that team. And he stays on for the full game. Rasmus Højlund has just been on international duty. This is not a fitness thing. That was a decision by the manager to take a player off that we've been waiting to play for a month, who is fully fit, who needs to gel into the team, who has to be the striker, and he gets taken off with 30 minutes to go for Rashford to stay on and keep doing what Rashford did. And I tell you what, I guarantee you, whether it's Prati Agbonlahor or, you know, some other Pratt like Piers Morgan or an ex-player or whatever, they will make this about a foreign player. Whether it's Onana, whether it's Bruno Fernandes, whether it's Casemiro, all of which there are valid conversations to have. But I've got to say, even though I'm a big fan of Rashford, there is a very, very big point to be made here that will only be made by the fans. Only the fans will make this point because it will not be made by the media. What is it Marcus Rashford is offering Manchester United this season, other than greed and selfishness and a lack of desire to work hard as a teammate? Now, I'm not just saying about tracking back. Tracking back would be nice, but he doesn't seem to be part of the team. So how can we be a team that's creating chances in the final third if we've got one player who is constantly looking to shoot? I mean, I'm all for giving examples as well. There was one in the second half. He gets it down the left-hand side. Rasmus is in the box and Reguilon is backing him up. And he shoots from a ridiculous angle on his left foot. He's not even left-footed and it's a stupid angle. And I'm like, we're losing 1-0 against a good side. Can we afford for you to have a stupid shot on your left foot? No. And it's that indiscipline that I would take him off. I'd say, look, I've got options. I've got Garnacho. I've got Pellistri. You're coming off. Mixed messages, and I think I've got to call it out. I don't like calling it out, but I've said about Southgate and Maguire, and I'd feel it would be wrong of me not to call that out. I didn't understand that substitution, and it sends a terrible message that you can, you know, basically be selfish and you can stay on the pitch. And I think he got that completely wrong. How much longer does Manchester give Ten Hag? Well, I'm going to talk about this, Adonis. And 4 years ago, Roy Keane said these players would throw Ollie under the bus, and they're doing the same, says Anthony. Do you think the Sancho situation and his friends in the dressing room, including Rashford, is affecting things, says Carl? I've got to say this, loads to get into. The midfield cost us the game today. The midfield cost Manchester United the game. There is absolutely no doubt in my mind that that's what happened there. They were shocking. All three goals are so similar. I won't be watching Match of the Day tonight. I'd rather have diarrhea. I don't want to watch that. And you could say that's what our midfield was. Casemiro's fallen off a cliff. McTominay, 20-something touches on the ball when every other midfielder on the pitch had over 50. Didn't make any tackles. I don't get what McTominay offers to Man United, and I certainly don't get what the point in that was today. Complete waste of time. The midfield was absolutely terrible, and I think that when you look at the goals we concede, it's the midfield on every single one of them not tracking the runners, and it's unacceptable to be that slow. What are they doing? Pressing and they can't be asked to get back. I'm not joking. Watch it back. And, Eriksen on the third goal, probably McTominay on the first goal. Can't remember the second goal. But that midfield, when it comes to tracking back, is slower than a one-legged tortoise on sleeping pills who's sellotaped to a lamppost. Like, we are so fucking slow at tracking back and marking players. And I wouldn't find this acceptable anyway. I don't think it's acceptable anyway. But we didn't do it against Arsenal before the international break. So why has this not been drilled into the players? I mean, look, I'm no super coach. I'm sure you're no super coach. But when I was coaching last week in the Sidemen game, and I could see where the weaknesses are, you're doing it on the touchline. You're saying you've got to pick that runner up. That's your man. In the half time, that's your man. Why are Man United, one of the biggest clubs in the world, conceding the same goal time and time again? We've been doing this for years. It predates Mourinho. It predates, probably, I don't know about Van Gaal, but it was happening with Van Gaal. So it's been going on for 3 or 4 managers, just not picking up the midfielders. And look, as good as Brighton were today, every goal is the same. Now, whether Onana should get near them, we'll talk about that in a minute, but every goal is the same. How can you keep conceding the same goal again and again and again and again? It's ridiculous. And I have to say as well, that was a mismatch today. The first 15 minutes were good. And then De Zerbi was probably taken surprise because United don't normally play a diamond. He switched it up and we went, this is the best bit of any analysis you're ever going to get. For the first 15 minutes, United had 65% possession. From the moment Brighton scored, which was around 20 minutes, it went the other way. So 2 things there. De Zerbi changed tactically and got hold of the game, and United players dropped their heads. To go from 65% possession at home in the first 15 minutes, to the other way for the rest of the game is disgusting. It was a total and utter mismatch, whether it was their defence against our attack, whether it's their midfield against our midfield, or whether it's the coach against the coach. It was a mismatch. And actually, if you wanted an analogy for what this mismatch was, whether it's their midfield against ours or whether it's De Zerbi against Ten Hag, if it's basically like a stupid, well, no, let me take that back. I've got it completely wrong. It would be like a mosquito giving the big un to a tank. That's how much we were out of the game. We were completely and utterly mismatched. Tactically, we've got Mabry, Pellistri and Garnacho coming on in the last 10 minutes. That's just pure petulance from Ten Hag. That's pure desperation. When you're chucking on 3... Would he start those 3? Would he start Pellistri, Mabry and Garnacho in a game 0-0 at Old Trafford against a good side? Absolutely not. No, he wouldn't do that. So to do that in the last 10 minutes, that's just petulance, throw the towel in, I'm angry with my senior players. And that's what De Zerbi reduced Ten Hag to. He completely and utterly chewed up his tactics and threw them on the floor. And that's just the truth. That is just the truth. No point moaning about Rashford when he extended his contract. He just bought himself another 2 years. A lot of people said this as well. A lot of people said, now Rashford's got his contract, watch what happens. I mean, I can't believe that that's going to be true. But Onana has changed the way we play. Now we have to score to get results, says Jacob. Love the player, but we needed to address... I mean, this is a great point, Jacob. I want to talk about the goalkeeper situation. You have just dropped an absolute bomb there. Brilliant point. And not a lot of people are going to like it. Ten Hag has to go, says Abhishek. No patterns. Oh, can I just jump in here? Can I just jump in here? If you're Ten Hag out, please be Man United out. Please fuck off. Like, seriously, fuck off and support somebody else. Because you've got no concept of football. And you don't really belong supporting any football club. If you're Ten Hag out, do one. Get out. Go. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely stupid. We've played 5 games of season 2. In season 1, he took us from the worst United side in Premier League history to 3rd place and 2 cup finals. The Glazers have basically lied to him. You know, he was expecting a Qatari summer and he had a Glazer summer. He's still inherited a bunch of shithouses, both in the dressing room and further up. You know, he's had the Greenwood scenario, the Sancho scenario, the Anthony scenario, now the Harry Maguire scenario, none of them in his control. If you're Ten Hag out, we can't speak. We can't talk because it's incredible. You don't lose 3 from 5 and get the sack. And you certainly don't lose 3 from 5 based on last season and what's going on around the club. If you're looking to sack another manager, what's next? I get people being angry, but what's next if you sack Ten Hag? Oh, let's get De Zerbi. So De Zerbi comes in, has a really good year. You're not selling McTominay, you're not selling Maguire, Rashford needs a new contract, you know, the list goes on. You can't sell Martial, we're not selling Sancho. So De Zerbi comes in, first year, new bounce, yeah? Second year, still stuck with problems, it gets worse. Why, in your right mind, would you be talking about sacking a manager when you've still got Arnold, Murta and Glazers at the club? You know, it's like sending your food back to a chef that's going to shit on it anyway. Like, we have to deal with the big problem at Man United. If Erik Ten Hag out is going to happen, I want no part with it at all. I'll talk about his mistakes. I'll talk about his team selections. I'll talk about the performances. But I will not be getting on board with Ten Hag out. I think it's the most childish, immature, futile, waste of space ever. There are far bigger problems at that club. And sacking a manager is not going to solve anything. We're past that. We did it with Van Gaal. We did it with Mourinho. We did it with Solskjaer. If we do it with Ten Hag, you're back here again in a year and a half. You know, let the new owners sack Ten Hag if that's what you want. I don't want that to happen. But the Glazers cannot sack another manager. We cannot force another manager out without a new owner. If you don't want Ten Hag, that's fine. But it can't be the next step. It has to be change of ownership. And if Qatar come in and go, don't like you, Ten Hag, you're gone, which can happen with new owners, fine, fair enough. But we cannot be going in on Ten Hag. Mark, we're $1 billion business in a sale process with change and uncertainty, mainly in hierarchy and management, which feeds down to players, staff, says T Truth. Mate, look, I know anyway. We've been talking about this for a while. Why would I say to you in the summer, we'll get smashed at least twice this season? We've already been smashed once and it's only September. Even before a ball was kicked, even with the buzz of Rasmus, you know, Onana, and what happened last year, I still knew before a ball was kicked this season that we would get smashed a couple of times. Why do you know that? Because we came third and we won a trophy and we still got smashed 3 or 4 times. There is an inherent mentality problem in that dressing room. They will still get smashed again this season. I dread to think what will happen when we play at Anfield or the Etihad. We will get smacked up again and again and again because there is an identity crisis in that club and Ralph Rangnick was right. Until you have open heart surgery, you can't remove it. It's like trying to remove a cancer. You know, you can't just pick at it and take a little bit. You've got to cut it all out and all around it. And United haven't done that. So we're always going to have these problems. I think, yeah, we're destined to have these performances against well-drilled sides. This is our 6th manager for the manager out, people. When does it become about the players? Says Joshua. We can stop making excuses for Ten Hag and these players collectively. This is shit. All of them are frauds, says Sis. Same thing, different year. Manager isn't the problem, says Ennis. That ball was not over the line. No, Lee, I agree with that. But we've just been played off the park by a better side. I mean, it was a bad refereeing decision. It was a bad refereeing decision at Arsenal, and it was a bad refereeing decision at Spurs. We've been a little bit unlucky with decisions, but the overall performance is... You know, Bruno Fernandes is playing centre-back at the end of the game. Whatever you think about Bruno, he'll never stop running. He'll never stop putting the effort in. And there are a few players like that. But these players in this team, there are some problems. There are some bad eggs in that team. There has to be, because this keeps happening all the time. No need to wait for Anfield or Etihad. We play Bayern midweek, says Matthew. Rashford is Jason Derulo, ridden solo. No idea how he stayed on, says David. And Rashford's attitude stinks, doesn't run, hangs his head. At least show that you give a shit, says Jared. Well, Rashford's got to turn it around very, very quickly, because obviously a lot of people are not very happy with Marcus Rashford at the moment. And, you can't necessarily argue with that. It's a problem, and it's a problem that needs to be to be solved. Really. But I want to talk about the goalkeeper before we do the player ratings, because there's not a lot to say about the game. We didn't really create any chances. Obviously, I think Højlund's goal should have stood, but we conceded the same goal 3 times. I can't believe how similar those 3 goals are. Crosses into the box for an unmarked midfielder or attacker. Disgusting goals. But the goalkeeping thing is really interesting. And, people either want to have this conversation or they don't. I was a fan of David De Gea. Slow Sports News. I didn't want De Gea to go. Slow Sports News. I'm not going to sit here and say I told you so. Doesn't really help anybody if I do that. But what I said about De Gea, I think I've been proven right at the moment. And actually, I've been proven right, because no matter what happens now, this season can't be a success. We can't challenge for the title, and we can't challenge for second place. We fucked it. So I've been proven right. And anybody else who agrees with what I'm about to say, you've been proven right. I don't get a medal for it. I don't feel smug about it. I feel sad. What I said was, I would not replace David De Gea this summer. I don't disagree that we probably need a more expansive ball-playing goalkeeper, but I don't think we need it this summer. And I think it's a massive risk to replace a goalkeeper that had 17 clean sheets and won the Golden Glove, because that defence was well drilled. And we won a lot of games last season by 1-0, 2-1, 2-0. So why would I replace my goalkeeper to be more expansive when I don't think we've got a team set up to be more expansive? 5 games in, we are conceding a ridiculous amount of goals. I think we've conceded 10 in 5, so we're conceding 2 per game. We're still not scoring goals like last year, and we're not playing out from the back very well either. And the defence looks very confused. So I sit here and I go, I like Onana, I get it, but I wouldn't have done it this summer. And then you add on top of that, the £45 million we've spent to do this could have been spent on another midfielder. So I think I have nothing to say other than I sit here in a position where I wouldn't have done it. I wouldn't have done it. The defence is disrupted and now leaking goals. The money could have been spent better elsewhere, and we've lost 3 from 5 and we're conceding 2 goals a game. I wouldn't have done it this summer. I do not think that David De Gea was the replacement that needed to be done at the end of last season. It wasn't the first choice replacement. It should have been striker, midfielders, centre-back, then goalkeeper. What we did is goalkeeper, attacking midfielder, striker, midfielder. We needed 2 midfielders who can tackle, we needed a striker, and we needed a centre-back. We bought Mason Mount, I still don't understand that, and we bought a goalkeeper, which I do understand the goalkeeper. I like Onana, and I think it may well work in the end, but I just wouldn't have done it. And he's either really unlucky or he's not making saves that De Gea would make. And I don't really want to make that statement because, the finishes from Brighton were very tidy today. The finish from Odegaard last week was, a lot of the shots I would expect to be goals. But today's loss is sadly on the manager's tactics and selections, says Saga. And the biggest problem in this club is the owners, the board and the players' mentality. Did you notice we were playing with only 10 players till Scott got substituted, says J-Deep. And it comes back, doesn't it? Let's do the player ratings. But it does come back to, you've got to be honest here. It does come back to the manager. Of course, it comes back to the manager. Some of the decisions he made today were confusing. And, as I said, I don't want to be a hypocrite. Nobody does. And the Højlund substitution, to me, was absolutely inexcusable. I don't get it. I really just do not get it. He's a young player. He's fully fit. He's really important. Spurs have come back from 1-0 down to beat Sheffield United 2-1. 90 plus 8, 90 plus 10. Fucking hell. Well, Spurs ain't going to moan about added time ever again, are they? let me just say that 14 minutes added at Villa as well. Fucking hell. Anyway, the Højlund substitution happened in the 64th minute. That is disgusting. 64th minute, he took Højlund off. I can't speak. That's incredible. Absolutely incredible. I'm just seeing if Ten Hag has spoken to the press yet, because we'll probably have that in the fan forum, to be fair. But look, Ten Hag's made a few mistakes today. And you know what, as well, he's got Harry Maguire and he's got Johnny Evans on the bench, and he puts Bruno at centre-back. It's just generally all around odd decisions today, I think. Please smash a like on the video and subscribe. Bottom right-hand corner, by the way. Going to do the player ratings now. Højlund will suffer in this team with these wingers. Rashford made wrong decisions in key moments. Joseph said the result is a reflection of how the club Brighton is run and how we are run. Look, Joseph, you're absolutely spot on. If this was a game between how well Brighton are run and how well Man United are run, then that was a very fair reflection of the score. They are way better run than us. They're better from top to bottom. It's terrifying how big we are, the revenues, the fan base, the status, and how small Brighton are in comparison. It's David versus Goliath, but it's David, kicking Goliath's arse, not just a lucky stone to the face, actually kicking the shit out of him, schooling him, toying with him, battering him. That's who we are as a football club. That's what we are. Problem is, if he doesn't play Scott, we get overrun, and if he does, we get overrun. What's happened to Casemiro? Casemiro's probably going to be a conversation for the Sunday night show. I can't go through everything tonight. We've got the fan forum coming up. But I agree, Casemiro is a problem. And I also predict that Casemiro, Bruno and Arne will be what ex-players and the pundits are talking about. They'll leave Rashford alone. Brighton was hungry. Brighton was more composed. Brighton wanted it more, says Ronnie. He probably preferred Bruno at centre-back than Maguire. Says Electro Dan. Well, let's do the player ratings. I mean, look, I'd have to see the goals again. I don't know. I'll give him a 5, an Arne. He did make a couple of saves, but, this passing out the back's not working. I mean, we could do 20-minute analysis on this, but it's not working. What does an Arne's passing out the back bring? If anything, it slows us down, because we're so comfortable giving him the ball that we give him the ball and sort of slow down. At least with De Gea, we wouldn't give him the ball. We'd have to go forward. I think it's had a counter effect. So I'd love to see what the hipsters have got to say about this, because this ball-playing goalkeeper that they wanted, we're giving him the ball because he's good with the ball, and then we're sort of going, relax, chill. Like, when we had De Gea, we would never pass it back. We'd always be going forward. We're just not using it right. Rashford avoids 50-50s. Scott AWOL as well. Brighton is a better team than United, says 21st Century. Delot today. I mean, look, to be fair, Delot was probably all right, 5.5. I mean, I've got to say, the defence, this does annoy me a little bit, because when you have a bad result, everybody has to have a bad score. Delot was probably, I give him a 5.5 because we lost. It wasn't far off a 6. Like, the back four, to me, weren't at fault for any of the goals. Like, what has the back four done wrong today? I'd say Lindelof was a 5.5. I'd say Martinez was a 5.5. And I'd say Reguilon was a 5.5. They all get bad scores, but what did they do wrong? Every single goal was the midfield. Just the same as Arsenal. I don't think Lindelof and Martinez have played particularly bad. I think at Arsenal they played well. It was Johnny Evans and Maguire who cost us on the back post. And I thought Delot was solid. So if there's any positive, I think the back four didn't do badly. They just get thrown in because, you see, you conceded 3 goals. I'm telling you, watch those goals back if you didn't see them. Every single one of them, the midfield's got to be marking a cutback. It's not on the defence. Anyway, Casemiro wasn't good. Really wasn't good. I don't know why. He's one of the best CDMs in the world. And I don't know what's going on. Mark, I remember you saying we'll concede goals, but we've got to have a balanced midfield to be able to play from the back. We are far from winning the league, and substitutions were bad, says Kenny. Thank you very much. Back four played well. McTominay, probably a 3 for me. Worst of the midfielders. Eriksen, 4. Bruno, I'd probably give him a 4.5 just because You know, he always puts a shift in. It wasn't his best game, but the midfield cost us today. I don't care what anybody said. The midfield cost us the game. You can't concede 3 goals like that. And the sad thing is, I think every single one of them were at fault for one of the goals. They didn't mark their man. So it was a shared out responsibility that none of them did it. At least some United fans are finally realising the real problem is Ten Hag and not Ronaldo. Shut up. How is Reguilon, our lone player, hustling harder than Rashford? Says William. Rashford, for me, has got to go down as a 3. I don't know how he stays on the pitch. Ten Hag cannot have favourites like that who perform like that. I get it if it's Lionel Messi, and I get it if it's Kylian Mbappe, and I get it if it's Cristiano Ronaldo. But Marcus Rashford isn't playing particularly well this season. I know he's always got a goal. I know he's always got an assist in him. And I like Rashford, but he should not be on a pedestal like that. You cannot put a player who plays like that as an untouchable, because it will piss people off. And if I was in that dressing room and Ronaldo's untouchable, I'm going to keep my gob shut. But if I'm in that dressing room and Rashford's untouchable, I'm like, this is not right, Eric. But he's the manager, of course. Rasmus was the victim of that today as well. You know, Rasmus shouldn't have been took off. And I've seen it happen a lot. Because Rashford can't be taken off, he gets forced into taking players off who don't deserve to be taken off. And it happens a lot. Rasmus, for me today, probably a 5.5, maybe a 6. Not because he played bad. I thought the service to Højlund was shite. And not surprisingly, graveyard shift. But I thought the service was terrible. Really, really bad. But he shows if he can get service, he can do things. I mean, he did score a goal. But yeah, he had a very quiet game because there wasn't a lot going on. And also, we kept giving the ball to Rashford, who won't give the ball to Højlund. How is, thank you for that. The long goodbye for Ten Hag, says Raymond. There is a cultural problem from top to bottom. I'm considering boycotting Man United until the Glazers are gone, says Mr. Dude. I've said this before, I'm saying it again. Eric Ten Hag's going to get the sack. I expected 70% possession football, but he seems to do something else. There's no connection. Rashford can't pass as a winger, says Ashish. Congratulations on 10 billion future evaluation. You Glazers are prats, says Umar. And remember when Pep said last season that Manchester United are back? That aged well. Sally, can I just bring something in here, actually? There is no obvious positive to what has happened today. We've lost 3 from 5 and we're playing absolutely shit. But the Glazers are never going to get a 10 billion offer when we're performing like that. And we're going to keep performing like that. So we're in debt. We're shit. The club's a mess. Surely at some point they're going to realise they're not going to get the money they want, and now is the time to cash in. That's the only thing that's making me think that there might be a golden lining to this, is that the Glazers finally fuck off, because it ain't going to get any better. There's no manager that can mend this mess. So maybe they fuck off. That attitude Rashford showed in that game, on Ten Hag's words, he shouldn't be starting next game. Surely that's got to be like watching Sancho in training, says Sean Turner. Mabry, for me, was man of the match. He, came on in a difficult circumstance, scored a really good individual goal, and I'd give him a 7 just to find a positive. He would be my man of the match. Martial, barely noticed him. Wan-Bissaka, probably like all the other defenders, 5.5. Pelestri should have started the game, felt sorry for him, 5. Same for Garnacho. Look, Ten Hag, I'm a massive fan of Eric's, I am, but I've got to say, De Zerbi made him look like Allardyce today. And that's probably the biggest put down I've ever done. He really schooled him. He absolutely tore him apart. And can I just say as well, Brighton made 5 changes from the team that beat Newcastle. That wasn't even Brighton's best side. And they come to Manchester and wipe their arse with us. It's incredible what Brighton sell their best players every year. They absolutely destroyed us, and he's got to take a 3. For me, he's got to take a 3 and hold it. It was embarrassing. It was really embarrassing for him, and I think he knows it. And there's a lot of work to do. But I'm not turning on Ten Hag. I'm not turning on Ten Hag. I don't think it serves a purpose. We can't keep doing this. The change that needs to happen at that club has to be at the top. I feel for Ten Hag. Transfer window was poor. The players who have been there for years do this every time. First season under new manager, they play well. Second season, they have no ambition, says Hugh. And I don't get that Rasmus substitution, says Ray. No, I don't get it at all. And let's go to the fan forum anyway. Look, there's still loads and loads to talk about. And they are obviously going to be talking about it as well. Lots to discuss there. Most of them have been at the game as well. So let's head over to the fan forum. See what they've got to say. I'm on TalkSport at 7:30. You know, it's going to be very interesting taking some of your calls. So tune in, TalkSport 7:30. We're live on YouTube as well. I'll see you on the fan forum now, though.